just want a facelift. And I look at their skin looks terrible. You know, they're on a horrible diet. You know, they don't wear their sunscreen. They don't do anything for skincare. And a facelift, Botox filler is not going to reverse those changes that we're talking about.
Turned out that everyone who was sleep deprived actually looked like they had droopy skin. They didn't look too good. They looked a bit older. And that, I guess, is why we've got something called beauty sleep.
If you're only using retinol twice a week, what I would encourage you to do would be to add some other type of an anti-aging cream, whether bakuchiol or peptides on those other nights maybe that you're not doing the retinol.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. It's Louisa Nicola. I'm a neurophysiologist and human performance coach. And joining me today is board-certified plastic surgeon, Dr. Anthony Youn. So in today's episode, Anthony and I dive into the topic of skin health and uncover the primary factors contributing to skin aging. And if you know me, you know that this is a huge part of my life right now. I'm doing everything I can to optimize my skin so I can potentially look the way I am today for the rest of my life. Dr. Youn expertly explains the 5 main causes of skin deterioration. He also outlines this in his book. They are nutrient depletion, inflammation, oxidation, collagen depletion, and the accumulation of cellular waste. In this episode, we are really going to explore these elements in detail. We'll be providing you with a comprehensive understanding of how these affect your skin's health and appearance over time. You're going to learn practical, actionable strategies to combat these factors, empowering you to take control of your skincare routine. By the end of the episode, you'll have gained valuable knowledge that you can immediately apply to preserve your skin's youthfulness and vitality. I'm super excited for this one. We also go over supplementation. We go over sun cream. We go over the do's, the don'ts, the myths, the misinformation. So you don't want to miss this if you want healthier looking skin. I'll give you a hint. It's all about collagen breakdown, and that's what we're going to learn today. So tune in. If you enjoy the episode, send it to somebody who really loves looking young and wants to stay looking young for the rest of their life. Anthony, it's so good to have you on the podcast. The listeners know that I am now becoming somewhat obsessed with not just aging, which we hear a lot about, but more so aging of the skin. I always say that I'm constantly trying to look this age or younger for the rest of my life. And that brings me to my first question, which is, what is actually aging our skin?
Well, I look at aging as 5 different factors. And those 5 different factors are factors that you can actually impact. And so the first one is going to be nutrient depletion. Our food that we eat does not necessarily have the same nutrients as it did in the past. Second thing that's aging our skin is collagen degradation. As we get older, we lose the collagen in our skin. The collagen makes up about 70 to 80% of our skin, and that's the part that makes our skin feel nice and tight and firm and youthful. And in general, starting about in our mid-20s, we start to lose about 1% of the thickness of our collagen every year. Women in the first 5 years after menopause lose about 30% of the thickness of their collagen, and then about 2% every year thereafter. And there are things that you can do to fight this process. Third cause of aging of the skin is oxidation or free radicals. Basically, that's what you can treat with antioxidants. Fourth cause is chronic inflammation, and sugar is a huge component of that. And then the 5th cause of aging of the skin is a buildup of cellular waste. And so those are the 5 things that I really focus on that I think make the biggest difference in our skin. And all 5 of these you can impact in very natural ways.
Well, that's why you've been dubbed the America's holistic plastic surgeon, which, you know, is quite funny. All right. Well, I'd love to just first talk about sugar. Let's talk about sugar and the skin and what that means in terms of aging.
Yeah, so sugar is really the great ager of our skin. You know, it used to be that people would demonize fat, but in reality, the thing that is the worst for you to eat for your skin is sugar. Now, sugar can contribute to aging of the skin in 2 main ways. The first way is a process called glycation. So sugar can actually bond to the collagen of our skin, causing that collagen to become deformed. So collagen is a large protein. And the way I describe collagen in the skin, it's kind of like the logs of a log cabin. And when you're young, those logs are nice and tight. They're smooth, they're strong. But as we get older, those logs start to become frayed. They start to fall apart a bit. And so what does sugar do? Sugar bonds to that collagen, making that collagen even more kinked, more frayed, older, essentially. So there's a direct correlation between sugar and the health of the collagen of your skin. And then the second way that sugar can age our skin is by chronic inflammation. And so we do know that chronic sugar spikes equal chronic insulin spikes. And when you get a lot of insulin spikes, that can lead to things like insulin insufficiency, and you can get issues with chronic inflammation of the skin, causing damage to the skin as well.
Now, just for reference, there's different types of sugar, right? We get sugar from, you're talking about purely refined sugar that is going in there and degrading the collagen.
Yeah, and I think we need to make a difference between sugar that is in, let's say, fruits and vegetables, where it's also combined with antioxidants, it's combined with phytonutrients, it's combined with fiber, and you're essentially going to have relatively lower glycemic index for things like that than for other types of especially refined foods. The simplest ones that obviously everybody focuses on are going to be dessert foods, but there are a lot of foods that you may not realize do have a very high sugar content, a high glycemic index, meaning that your blood sugar is going to spike eating it. And those would be things like white rice, white bread, bagels, plain pasta. Those types of things can cause those insulin spikes as well.
Damn, that's quite scary. So then when you actually think about the actual collagen itself, right? If we just go there, is that the root cause? Like what is the actual, what are we degrading with all of the 5 points that you mentioned? What is it? Is it all degrading the collagen? Is that what it's all attacking?
Not necessarily. I do believe that it's kind of a multifactorial process. And that's why there's different scientists who focus on different things. When you look at actually theories of aging, it used to be very simple. A long time ago, all we thought at one point was that it was due to oxidation or free radicals. And now we know that there is a component of that in our aging process, but that's not everything. There are a lot of theories of aging. I cover a lot of this in my book, Younger for Life. There's like the telomere theory, where you actually look at the telomeres and you see how they shorten as we get older, and you see the different types of activities that may shorten them. And then there are people who do actually bench research. They do research in scientific laboratories looking at why we age and potentially looking at things like longevity genes. So it can get really, really complicated. For me, what I try to focus on specifically is the skin and a lot of the more physical changes that we see. Now, there is a difference between biological age and chronological age. And I do think that there's a difference between biological age, chronological age, and the age at which you present yourself. Because, we do cosmetic treatments that can make somebody look quite young on the outside, but on the inside, that may be a whole different thing. And so it's really funny. As I say, it's funny because you talk to a lot of anti-aging scientists, you talk with physicians who are in holistic health, and they do talk about biological age and chronological age, but they don't mention kind of the appearance age that we have too, because I think that's something we need to throw in there as well.
Oh, 100%. I meet a lot of beautiful women who tell me they're in their 60s, and I'm like, no, you look 45. And albeit it's just from my standpoint, I see a lot of ethnic women, and I don't know why that is. Maybe it's all the olive oil. However, I do see the biological age and chronological age difference in terms of beauty as well.
Yeah, I think when you do look at different ethnicities, there is a difference in skin. And so there's a number of factors that can build into that. So number one, if you've got melanin in your skin, the more melanin that you have, the more resilient your skin is in general to sun damage, And so you're going to see people who have really light colored skin will get sun damage. They will get skin damage much more readily and more quickly than somebody with darker skin. Also, when you look at different types of ethnicities, sometimes the skin is a bit thicker and oilier. So if you look at somebody with darker skin, oftentimes their skin can be thicker. It can be oilier. In some ways, it's like a built-in moisturizer. And so there are those terms, Black don't crack, Asian don't raisin, and these kind of funny terms that people use.
I haven't heard that.
And there is truth to them, because I do think that there is this genetic predisposition towards having, let's say, less wrinkles, and there are physical reasons why that can be the case as well.
Well then, okay, so you mentioned moisture, right, and dry skin. Does that mean are we talking then hydration has something to play in that as well?
In general, I don't look, let's say, when you're talking about hydration and moisturizers and drinking water as being truly all that anti-aging. I think that there are possibly long-term benefits to keeping your skin nice and moist and hydrated. But there's also a fallacy in skincare, especially that, oh, all you need to do is moisturize your skin and it's going to stay young. And that's not necessarily the case. There's a lot more that you can do out there than just using a moisturizer.
Yeah, I guess so. And I think to your first point, which was nutrient deficiencies, our foods now, especially in America, I'm in New York City, just completely depleted of nutrients, which is why I supplement a lot. And I actually have been supplementing with hyaluronic acid. And I know a lot of people have heard of hyaluronic acid from a serum perspective, but I did read this study about a year ago that said that hyaluronic acid serums do nothing other than just add moisture to the skin. And the best way to attack it from a skin health perspective is having hyaluronic acid capsules. So I've been taking that for about a year now.
Yeah, and that's something I haven't seen yet. I know that there's a company that I work with, Peak Tea, and they've got a product and they talk about how ceramides are in that and things. I'm not sure 100% if there's going to be a direct correlation between the two. But it is definitely a very interesting fact because there's simple things like taking a collagen supplement that does appear to have a significant benefit on the skin. And going back real quick to what you said before with the nutrient depletion, there actually was a study and something that I quote in my book where they actually looked at the fruits and vegetables sold here in the United States from the years 1950 to 1999. And they looked at the different nutritional contents of these fruits and vegetables. And they found over those 49 years, a significant reduction in 6 key nutrients, 3 of them of which really stood out to me. Those were protein, iron, and vitamin C. And so this was a study that ended way in 1999. So you're talking 25 years ago. And even then they were seeing that the soil is depleted and that the food that we're eating, let's say an apple that you eat today, is not as nutritious as it was 25, 50 years ago or more. And so one reason to consider not only supplementation, but eating organic if you can afford it, because it does appear to have potentially higher nutritional content than conventionally grown produce.
So optimal intake of protein then affects how the skin ages as well.
Yeah. And, the way I look at that is that collagen, once again, is a protein. And so the first thing you want to do, because you know that collagen is going to degrade, especially women after menopause, that collagen degrades. And you only need to see a woman who's in their 70s or her 80s and their skin can be tissue paper thin to know that is true. So how do you fight it? Well, the first and most obvious thing is to increase the protein content in your diet as you get older. That can help to potentially replenish the collagen of your skin. That being said, I don't know of any studies that have looked at increasing protein and, let's say, collagen in the skin. But there are a ton of studies that have looked at collagen supplements and their impact on the skin. And they have shown very good evidence that they have very positive impact on the collagen content in the skin if you take those supplements for long enough.
So are we talking also with collagen peptides, for example? I know that that's something that is somewhat of a craze right now. People putting collagen peptide powders in their smoothies or having a scoop of that per day. Is there much evidence on supplementing with collagen itself? That's
where the evidence actually is. And the important thing, the argument against collagen, and there's a lot of people who poo-poo collagen supplements. And in general, these, I think, are doctors who are just anti-supplement, period, because they don't understand supplements, honestly. So what is the science behind it? So the belief that, let's say, collagen supplements don't work, doctors will tell you, is because it's a large protein. How do you even know that it gets digested? It's so big. And then it has to get digested. Then how do you know it makes it to your skin? Well, number one, we know it gets digested because good collagen supplements are made with hydrolyzed collagen peptides. Essentially, you take that large collagen protein and you break it down into individual amino acids and peptides, which are groups of small amounts of amino acids, and you make it bioavailable in that way. And so if you are looking for a good collagen supplement, you want to make sure it's hydrolyzed and, in general, collagen peptides, because once again, smaller proteins, easier to digest, easier to for it to actually go through our intestinal lining and to actually absorb it. So then you think, okay, well, if you're going to take a collagen supplement, how can you prove that collagen supplements work. And you say, okay, I would do a study where you take somebody, they take a collagen supplement, you do a double-blind placebo-controlled trial where you got somebody who's not taking the supplement, somebody who is, and let's say you put them on it for 90 days, and then how about we biopsy the collagen of the skin, and we see how much collagen is in their skin. And that's exactly what has been done, is that they take patients, they do that, they go on the supplement, and they found that a significant improvement in the amount of collagen in the skin when it's biopsied after they've taken these collagen supplements, and there's also studies that look at it from the outside in improvement in wrinkles and hydration of the skin. But you've actually found studies where they draw the blood, they find an increase in collagen in the actual blood, and they find an increase in the collagen in the actual skin when it's biopsied. There was meta-analysis of over 1,100 patients, and this was back in 2021, that showed a statistically significant improvement in the collagen of the skin and in wrinkles and hydration, and a follow-up study of over 1,700 people just published last year showing very similar findings. And so, nowadays, if you have somebody who says collagen supplements don't work, that science doesn't prove it, they just honestly haven't looked at the studies, because the studies are pretty clear now.
Yeah, especially if they're human randomized control trials. A lot of the things that you're saying now when it comes to skin aging and skin health, I hear you saying it's beauty is from within, meaning does that mean that a lot of these topical creams that we're spending so much money on are really useless?
Well, one that's useless is a collagen cream, because I just told you that collagen is a large protein. And if you put that large protein on the surface of the skin, people believe, oh, well, it's just going to increase the collagen in my skin, right? Well, no, because your skin is a barrier, and that collagen protein is so large that it's just going to sit on the surface of the skin. In fact, there are people who are doing now, it's kind of this crazy trend where they're doing gelatin facials. What is gelatin?
I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So gelatin basically is collagen. And so you take this collagen and you put it on your face, and it hardens into this mask, and it tends to stick to your skin. Now, it can actually work if you put it on your nose as kind of like a natural pore strip, if you want to do something like that and clean out your sebaceous filaments, maybe improve your blackheads. But there's no benefit to putting collagen on your skin, because it's just going to sit there. And that's one thing, definitely. Don't waste your money on collagen creams, because the collagen in it doesn't do anything. It just sits on the surface of your skin like a gelatin mask.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so then let's go back to nutrients. What are some other nutrients that we should be making sure that we're having if we're not getting it from the diet? Thank you to Apollo Neuro for sponsoring this episode. The Apollo is a therapeutic wearable designed to be worn discreetly on the wrist or ankle that works by sending gentle vibrations to the body that signal safety to the brain. It is a safe, non-invasive way to relax, get the sleep you need, focus your attention, and find your flow. I have been wearing this certain device for about 1 year. I originally got it because I really needed to downregulate my nervous system. Yes, as you can tell, I'm very high energy, very high paced. I really wanted a way to hack my system other than meditation, breath work, or even sleep per se. I really wanted to be in the driver's seat. To be honest, guys, I'm not the best meditator, which is why this device works so well. So with these soothing vibrations, Apollo directly engages with my body's nervous system, and these vibrations help to naturally regulate stress responses and promote a state of calm, enhancing my ability to manage daily stresses without reliance on pharmaceutical aids. So if you want to be in the driver's seat, if you meditate and do breath work to calm your nervous system down, and you don't want to do that alone because you know that that alone is not as powerful as a device like Apollo, you can grab one of these. You can get $40 off any of the Apollo wearable devices by visiting the link in the description below, or simply going to apolloneuro.com and use code NEURO40. That is apolloneuro.com with code NEURO40 to receive $40 off.
Yeah. So when you look, when you're not getting it from the diet, or when you want to add to the diet?
When you want to add to the diet.
So, when you look at aging of the skin, so we talked about nutrient depletion, say, hey, you know what? Taking a daily multivitamin is something I recommend, because once again, our food is not as nutritious as it used to be, going for organic, taking supplements. Second thing we talked about is going to be collagen degradation. So we talked about increasing the amount of protein that can help with that. Third thing is going to be oxidation and free radicals. And so what is that, essentially is that? Well, basically, oxidation is a process where the fact that you are alive, okay, your metabolism, your body functioning, it creates waste products called free radicals. Everybody's body does this. Free radicals are these basically damaging molecules, and what they do is essentially they can damage the DNA of our cells if they become too numerous. So our body creates these free radicals essentially as a waste product, but our body also creates antioxidants. Antioxidants basically neutralize free radicals to prevent them from damaging our cells, the DNA of our cells. But if you have a certain type of lifestyle, like let's say you smoke, you vape, you are around a lot of, let's say, automobile exhaust, you are in a very polluted area, or let's say you eat a ton of ultra processed foods, now you are exposing your body to more free radicals potentially than it can handle. And when you have a lot of free radicals and not enough antioxidants, and you start getting damage to the DNA of your cells, that's a process called oxidation. And so what do you do to fight that? You increase the amount of antioxidants that you ingest. What are antioxidants? Basically, they are the pigment in fruits and vegetables. And so if you hear gut health experts, if you hear functional medicine doctors say, eat the rainbow, the reason why they say that is because by eating the rainbow of different colored fruits and vegetables, you're going to get a wide variety of antioxidants. Those are going to neutralize those free radicals and slow down that third main cause of aging of our skin.
You know, I have to play devil's advocate right now. Okay. I have to play devil's advocate and think, okay, I can do all of this, but look, the rise in Botox right now. I mean, why don't I just go and get Botox? And why don't I just go and get fillers? And why don't I just go and see somebody like you, a plastic surgeon who, by the way, you were also Dr. 90210, right?
I was on that show. I was not the main guy, but I was on that show
But you were
long
on
time
that
ago.
show.
Yeah, a long time ago.
You know, and you are a board certified plastic surgeon. So let's just talk about like, why do all of this hard work when I can just go and get a few injections every 3 months?
So I do get people come in my office and they have money in hand. They say, I just want a facelift. And I look at their skin looks terrible. You know, they're on a horrible diet. You know, they don't wear their sunscreen. They don't do anything for skincare. And it does, a facelift, Botox filler is not going to reverse those changes that we're talking about. So in general, what let's say does Botox do? Botox smooths wrinkles by preventing the transmission of nerve impulses to certain muscles that create lines of our face. So yes, if you've got deep etched lines of your face, then Botox can really work for that. Changing your diet isn't going to help with that a whole lot. Filler can fill in wrinkles. It can fill in lines, but it can also add volume into areas that have gotten thinner. That's why you can do filler, let's say in the lips or in the cheeks. A facelift basically cuts out excess hanging skin. So if you've got sagging, then a facelift can do that. Now, skincare and changing your lifestyle, what that can do is change the quality of your skin. So these treatments I'm talking to you about, Botox, filler, facelifts, they don't do anything for the quality of your skin. They will target very specifically certain issues, but the skin that you still have after these treatments could be still the same aged, rough, thinning, wrinkled, fine-lined skin that you had before these treatments. And so really the way I look at overall anti-aging, and I think it's a very healthy way to look at it, it's kind of like you're building a house. And when you build a house, what do you focus on? Well, you don't focus on Botox and surgery. That's like focusing on the chimney of the house first, or the attic. You focus on the actual foundation. That's the first thing you build. And what is the foundation of a true anti-aging strategy? It's the food that you eat. It is the lifestyle that you live. That is the actual foundation. The first floor is going to be, let's say, skincare products. The second floor is going to be non-invasive treatments. And then the attic and the spire at the top of the house are going to be injections and, let's say, a facelift if that's something you decide you want to do.
Oh, that is brilliant. The way that you've just described that and used the analogy of a house. It's actually the same for all facets of longevity. You can't just supplement your way out of a good diet. You can't just ice bath your way to fat loss. And just the same for brain health. First symptoms of Alzheimer's disease begin 20 years after the disease starts actually occurring and progressing. So everything really does start from within, and it's about consistency, really consistency.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the things that you can do that will help with your brain are going to be the same things that's going to help with your skin. We know there's a gut brain axis. Well, there's a gut skin axis, and some people call it the gut brain skin axis because everything is intertwined.
This is probably why, if I eat certain foods, maybe if I've had sugar, I end up with a pimple, and I generally don't get anything on my face. I don't get pimples, and I just don't, but I do see them on my chin if I end up having, dessert, a bit too much dessert.
Yeah, there actually is more and more science coming about, studies showing that there is a connection between the health of our gut microbiome, the health of our gut in general, and the health of our skin. The first studies that we've been seeing coming out with this are going to be more regarding inflammatory skin disorders like acne, like rosacea, like eczema. And we do believe that when you have inflammation in the gut, that can definitely show in the health of your skin. I have a good friend of mine, her name is Dr. Trevor Cates. She's a naturopathic doc. She focuses on the skin, and she calls skin our magic mirror. It really shows what's going on inside our body. And just like you said, you eat some foods that are maybe a bit inflammatory to your body that your body doesn't like, and it ends up showing in your skin. And, and it shows in your mind too. For me, if I eat too much gluten, and I think I am mildly gluten sensitive. I can in general tolerate, but sometimes if I eat too much, I get a bit of brain fog and I just don't feel good. And it shows neurologically, as well.
Yeah, actually, I was, so I teach a group of students, and we were actually doing sleep physiology. And I brought up a wonderful study that was done on the so-called beauty sleep, where subjects were sleep deprived and people were able to look at photos of them sleep deprived and others who weren't sleep deprived, and they had to rate them. It doesn't seem like a nice study, but they had to rate them based on that. And it turned out that everyone who was sleep deprived actually looked like they had droopy skin. They didn't look too good. They looked a bit older. And that, I guess, is why we've got something called beauty sleep, right?
Yeah. And I think, that all comes together with stress, with exercise, because definitely there are lifestyle modifications that you can make that can really impact how old you get and how old you look. I mean, you only need to look at US presidents when they enter office and then 4 or 8 years later to know that stress makes a huge impact on how you look. And so in my book, that is one of the things that I do focus on are these things that you wouldn't focus on normally. The fact is yes, doing things like meditation can really impact your appearance. Getting enough sleep. Yeah. Meditation, yoga, all those things are going to reduce stress, can really impact how you look. It can impact how quickly you age. And no, it's not as direct of a correlation as, let's say, using a retinol cream, but all of this stuff works together, just like having a healthy diet.
Yeah, actually, I do use a retinol cream. I use it twice a week. I should probably use it a bit more than that, but I use it twice a week.
Yeah, it depends. There's some people who can really tolerate retinol and using it every night if you've got more oily or thicker skin. And then there's some people who will even use prescription strength tretinoin, which is even stronger, and can do that every night. And then there are other people like myself. I can tolerate retinol, but like you, I do it maybe a few times a week. And then I try to use a different product on the other days I'm not using retinol. And typically the one that I recommend is bakuchiol. Bakuchiol-based creams. Bakuchiol is actually from the bobchi plant. It's been used in Ayurveda and ancient Chinese medicine for centuries. There was one study that actually compared retinol to bakuchiol and found very similar anti-aging effects. And so if you've got sensitivity to it, if you're only using retinol twice a week, what I would encourage you to do would be to add some other type of an anti-aging cream, whether bakuchiol or peptides on those other nights maybe that you're not doing the retinol.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. The retinol are you just accelerating the cells of the skin to turn over?
That's one of the things it does. So most of our studies that we look at and that we make claims with retinol are honestly, they're based off of tretinoin, which is prescription strength. And tretinoin they're both derivatives of vitamin A. They're both considered retinoids, but prescription strength is tretinoin. non-prescription over-the-counter strength is retinol. And essentially the difference is that tretinoin is a actual drug because once it's applied on the skin, it is an active product. It will change your skin. I'll tell you exactly what it does in a sec. Retinol is actually applied as an inactive, and it undergoes 2 chemical transformations to become tretinoin. Okay. And so because of that, it's not considered a drug because it's when you apply it, it's technically inactive. It undergoes these 2 chemical transformations after you apply it and becomes basically the same thing. Tretinoin, just usually it's on a lesser of a concentration. So what these basically do, yes, number one, they increase cellular turnover. So when we're younger, our skin cells, they basically are formed at the base of our skin, and then they go up to the surface and slough off after about 6 weeks. That whole process takes maybe 6 weeks. As we get older, that process, like everything else, slows down. So it starts taking 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks to turn over. And that's one reason why as we get older, our skin can feel rougher. It can look more dry, more wrinkled and all of that. And so one thing retinol does is it helps to increase that cellular turnover, get that skin exfoliating. It also can help with reducing unwanted pigmentation. It's mild in how well it does it, but it can reduce unwanted pigmentation. It can thicken the collagen of the skin. It can thicken the dermis, the deeper portion of the skin. And one thing that a lot of people don't know is that there are studies that show that if you have pre-skin cancers, let's say a cluster of abnormally growing cells, it can actually potentially reverse that or cause them to slough off, and you get rid of them, and it can potentially help prevent a skin cancer down the line. And so that's a lot that this one ingredient can do. It's just that if it's in a high potency like tretinoin, the prescription strength, it can be hard for some people to tolerate.
Yeah, but the regular over-the-counter strength is good enough.
I think for the vast majority of people, it's inexpensive. Most good skincare lines have a retinol in it. For us, I have my own skincare line, Youn Beauty, and our retinol moisturizer is one of our top sellers because we consider it to be kind of the cornerstone of a good anti-aging skincare routine.
So then, okay, on that as well, what is your take on hyaluronic acid serums?
So hyaluronic acid serums are great in that they are great for moisturizing. So, if you live, let's say, in the Southwest, where it's super dry, or, here I'm in Michigan and in the wintertime in February, it's so cold and dry. Hyaluronic acid is great. But is it going to make your skin truly younger? Not necessarily, because what is it? It's a great moisturizer. It's a humectant. It actually absorbs moisture. And so I think it's a great product, but it's also not, let's say, a substitute for a retinol, where retinol is going to impact your skin on a cellular level to try to reverse those aging changes. Hyaluronic acid won't do that. It's just going to help plump it up, which is great. If you're dry, it's a great thing to use. It's also what we put in our injectable fillers as well.
This episode is sponsored by Momentous Supplements. You may assume that you're getting everything your body needs from your diet or a simple green juice, but I recently discovered that most people, including myself, are still short on essential nutrients our body needs to function at our best. So I have been taking Momentous Creatine, omega-3, and protein daily to ensure that all of my bases are covered. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I am a huge proponent of 5 grams a day of creatine and 2 grams of EPA and 2 grams of DHA daily. And according to my body weight, I am doing 110 grams of protein per day. Now, supplements can feel like a dirty word, and navigating the space can be daunting due to the lack of trust and transparency. But I've come to learn that I can trust Momentous. This is why I'm actually an advisor to the company. And Momentous makes the decision so much easier for me because my trust in the products are very, very high due to their dedication to working with the best, from their collaboration with experts to their unparalleled commitment to only using the highest quality ingredients possible. And also, they have invested heavily in their third-party testing. So there's a reason why the world's best athletes and experts use and help develop Momentous products. So if you're like me and you want to take supplements that are made by and used by the best in the world, go to livemomentous.com and use code NEURO to get 32% off your first subscription order. If you don't feel like subscribing, you can still use my code to get 20% off all of my favorite products. That is livemomentous.com with code NEURO. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's, you know what, I think when it comes to skin health, my mother always says that the best skincare routine is sun cream. And, you know, I went through a long period of not knowing that. I think I was in my 20s. I guess I wasn't very big on sun cream. Now I'm in my 30s. I'm like applying it every day.
Yeah, I think, sunscreen is huge. It's not sexy. It's not exciting. And, if you talk to plastic surgeons, dermatologists, if you can only use one cream, what would it be? It's got to be the sunscreen. A couple of things, though, that, a lot of people, there's a lot of controversy. If you talk about sunscreen on social media, some people say, oh, it causes cancer. Other people say, oh, I don't use it. I had actually a friend of mine who I did a podcast with him, and he's like, I don't use sunscreen. I use lard. And I'm like, oh, lard for your skin.
He uses what?
Lard.
Like fat.
Yeah. Like beef tallow. Some people put like beef tallow and
wouldn't that
lard
tan your skin?
I think it would
if you're in the sun?
Bad, but I don't know.
Yeah, it would smell bad.
I don't know.
Okay, that's interesting.
But yeah, so, with sunscreen, what I tell patients and people, because I do want to, I'm open to a lot of the concerns that people have. But the fact is, I'm a plastic surgeon and I've been doing this for 20 years. I cannot tell you how many people I have seen who developed skin cancer on their face, and it is disfiguring. And that is the last thing you want, is to get a skin cancer on your face. I've seen beautiful people that have a tiny little dot on their nose that it's like this little wound that just won't heal. That's sometimes a sign of a skin cancer. Yeah, I got this little kind of wound, and no matter what, it just keeps bleeding. It keeps getting irritated. It never heals over. You got to get that checked out. And so people have something like that, a little dot, and then they come back to see me because they had a skin cancer there and half their nostril is now gone, or they've got a big hole in their forehead, or part of their eyelid is gone and it's pulling down now. There's so many bad things that can happen if you get skin cancer of your face, that if you're going to apply sunscreen, please, please, please do it on your face and prevent yourself from getting that. So what do you use on your face? Because there are two different types of sunscreen. There's chemical sunscreen and physical sunblock. There's actually a difference between the two. Physical sunblock is zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. And this is a cream essentially that sits on the surface of your skin and prevents the sun's rays from getting through. The old-fashioned one is like, you may remember growing up, there were lifeguards who had this white paste on their nose.
Yeah.
That's,
of course, I'm from Australia.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, so there you go. Same thing that's in butt paste. This is all zinc oxide. So these are the things that, in general, if you have children, you want to ideally use something like that on your kids, because it's going to sit on the surface of the skin. It's not going to get absorbed through their skin. It's not going to get into their bloodstream, and it's going to work to block the sun's rays. But some people don't like it because it doesn't necessarily always go on clear, and you can get kind of a ghostly hue from it if you've got darker skin. So then what do you do if you have darker skin? Well, then I recommend a sunscreen. But there are two chemical sunscreens that are controversial: oxybenzone and octinoxate. These are two chemical sunscreens used very, very commonly that some kind of holistic and alternative health practitioners believe they could be potential hormone disruptors, that they can mimic estrogen in the body and basically cause issues that way. And so I, in general, recommend trying to avoid those, especially with your children. But there are other chemical sunscreens, Mexoryl XL, avobenzone, very effective. No sign that they cause any type of hormone disruption or mimicking hormones. And they also can go on nice and light on the skin. So that's what I recommend. For your kids, definitely use a mineral-based sunscreen or sunblock. If you've got light colored skin and you can tolerate that, especially on your body and you're at the beach or something, then that's what I recommend. For the face, if you want to go with a chemical sunscreen, just try to avoid oxybenzone and octinoxate. And one thing, the worst thing you can do is take a chemical sunscreen with oxybenzone and octinoxate and spray your kids down. You see that at the beach all the time. You know that they're breathing in those chemicals into their developing lungs, and who knows what that might do.
Oh, that's great. That's great information, because there's so many people, especially when I go home for summer, just spraying the kids. Actually, You know what's interesting? There isn't a banned ingredient here in the United States. It's not FDA approved, I should say, but it's not banned in Australia, and it's found in sunscreens. I get my sunscreens from Australia. So it's bemitrizanol.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that one, but
I don't know the exact mechanism of action, but I was reading a really well done study which showed that ingredient there is what protects you against the sun in certain aspects. So I'm like, oh my gosh. And it was so interesting to understand, like, why is it available in Europe and Australia, but why is it FDA approved in America?
Yeah, the FDA has been super slow with getting sunscreens approved. It's been very frustrating. I recommend people, they go to South Korea and use their sunscreens, because just like in Europe, they have such a wide variety of other options. The hard thing with sunscreen, I think, and the issue with adoption here in the United States is because so many of them, they feel thick on your skin, they feel greasy, they have that certain sunscreen smell to it. And people don't like to use it. I mean, I admit I don't like to use it that way either. And so if we could have one that literally feels like when you apply your moisturizer on your face in the morning, then everybody would use it. And there are those types of products in other countries. They're just not here in the United States. And hopefully something will get approved sometime soon. I know there are companies that are really pushing the FDA to get some more of these ingredients approved.
Oh, hopefully it's this one that we're speaking about. Did you know that there is a really great study that was also done on resistance training and skin health? And it showed the great associations of exercise, but more specifically this one, and I wish I had it here to share with everybody, but it was more specifically aimed at resistance training. And I think that was going to be my next question, to understand the effects of exercise on the skin.
Yeah, in general, there are studies that do show that exercise will improve the quality and the health of the skin. I don't know, as far as, is there some type of a direct correlation there?
Look,
I'm not sure that
it probably
there
just is blood flow, right?
I think that's part of it. And I think it's part of just living a healthy life, because if you're exercising regularly, then the same type of people are going to be watching their diet. They're not going to be, taking eating too much sugar and ultra processed foods and these types of foods that can be very harmful to the body. But yeah, I'm not sure if there's a true direct correlation, or if it's things like what you see with meditation and with yoga, and just in general, those types of healthy activities are going to show overall in your skin. And on the flip side, the unhealthy activities are going to show as well.
Yeah, well, everybody should be exercising anyway, so we'll just say that it's very good for the skin. So I've been also using my red light panel every day. Now, this is just a new thing. This is a 2024 inclusion in my routine. Now, I've got a mask. I've got a red light mask. I've also got a panel. And I know that there is some early research, both on humans and mice, that shows that the red light and near infrared light can penetrate the skin and some of the superficial organs. But I don't know how effective it actually is. So I know you know a lot about red light. So can we just deconstruct that for a moment?
Yeah, and that's something that I think is one of the best bangs for your buck in general. There's so many people who maybe listen to your podcast, who follow me, who've read my books and stuff, and they don't necessarily live near a med spa, a plastic surgeon, a dermatologist, or maybe their budget does not allow them to pay the money to get a lot of these types of treatments. So one thing that you can definitely do is red light therapy. You can do that in the comfort and privacy of your own home. And there are devices that some of them are very good that only cost a few $100s. So what does red light therapy do, first of all? Well, the belief is that red light therapy, the energy of that red light gets taken up by the cells, and it causes the mitochondria to essentially be energized and to create more ATP. And the idea then is you've got these cells who have better functioning mitochondria, and they're going to essentially act as if they're more youthful. Now, what does the science then say? Are there studies that show that red light therapy can impact and improve the quality of your skin? And the answer is yes. Not a lot of studies, but there are some studies. And the studies that show, one study actually showed even after a month, and I don't know that I believe a month is enough time. I'd say more like 3 months to really see the results, but showed an improvement in both the collagen and the elastin in the skin with regular red light therapy treatments. And so definitely there are a handful of studies that do appear to support that. Where we see a lot of red light therapy benefits in infrared and stuff is actually also in the scalp and in the hair. A lot of studies have shown that to be very, very effective. So there are
for hair growth.
Yeah, there are laser helmets, and they use what are called low light laser therapy, which essentially is like red light. Same belief. It's kind of as if you're like watering the plants, which are your hairs. The idea is that the energy of that light therapy can get taken up by your hair follicles and cause your follicles to go into a growth phase. And there are many, many studies that actually show that that is definitely beneficial for thickening of the hair. And so I think, when you're looking at red light therapy for the quality of the skin and wrinkles, there just aren't a lot of studies on it, but the ones that I have seen have been very promising. But tons of studies showing that it definitely works for the hair.
Wow. Yeah, I've got a panel and I've also got the mask, as I mentioned. So I'm going to start doing the mask. I guess, again, it comes down to consistency and regularity.
And it's tough. I have the same thing. I've got a panel called the Loom Box at home. I've got a mask from a company as well. And I got it, literally, I have it right next to my couch. I wear the helmet because I've got some early thinning
I
of
want
my
to get
hair.
the helmet. Now that you've said this, I need the helmet.
I do that, but I don't do the mask as often as I should. But I mean, I've got an office here where we've got lasers and everything like that. And so, I think it's also important to realize that red light therapy is great, but also we have things here that are much more powerful that I can do kind of in lieu of that anyway.
How about, okay, let's go to the opposite now and talk about, what about ice baths, right? And hear me out here. So I've got a plunge in my New York City apartment. I plunge every single day, and for various different reasons, mitochondrial biogenesis, and it just makes me feel amazing. But I got onto this thing where I've got these thick spoons. I got them on Amazon. I don't know what they are, but they're thick balls, and I put them in the freezer, and then in the morning sometimes I put them on my face, maybe to get rid of the bags under my eyes. Is that effective? Is freezing my face effective in any way?
It's going to be mostly a constriction of the blood vessels. It's going to be causing, just like you said, puffiness to come down, but there's nothing that it's probably going to do truly anatomically to make you younger. I think ice baths are a little bit different because now you're looking at hormesis and putting your body under stress. And interestingly enough, we kind of see a similar type of thing with the skin. So, when you look at actual laser treatments and other types of treatments like microneedling, all of the treatments that we do to rejuvenate the skin essentially, and I'm not talking surgery or Botox, but light-based or energy-based treatments, all are used to create a controlled trauma to the skin, to traumatize it, but at an extent where you don't traumatize it too much, but just enough that when the skin itself heals and recovers, it recovers in a tighter fashion. And so, microneedling does that by making tiny little pokes in the skin with tiny needles. Lasers do that by using light energy and heat to heat up the skin to a certain temperature. Chemical peels do that by using an acid. All of these types of things, I kind of look at it in a way like hormesis, where you put your body under a very controlled stress or trauma, and it reacts to that by healing itself in a better fashion than it was before the trauma. Now, the difference, and same thing with, let's say, an ice bath. It's great. I think I do believe in hormesis. One of the things I put in the book also is intermittent fasting, and that being a big part of it. But I do think that putting yourself under certain amounts of stress can definitely be helpful for you for overall longevity. And with the skin, it's the same thing. But you have to stop it at some point, because you can laser the skin and it gets tighter and smoother afterwards. Or if you over laser it, you can scar. It's just like you can ice bath. At some point, you can become hypothermic and you can die. You got to stop it. You got to stop at the right time.
Can't you get now at home needling? Micro needling now?
That's actually where it started, are the dermal rollers that you roll over your skin. Most dermatologists are not big fans of them because as you roll those over your skin, you get tearing because of the fact that it's on a roller mechanism. Now, there are some companies that have actual stamping, dermal stamping with needles. That I think is reasonable, but you have to be careful because you want to make sure that you're not putting yourself at risk of infection. You want to clean the head of that device off regularly, with alcohol. In general, those are things that I would recommend you probably have a doctor or at least an esthetician do instead.
Wow. Anthony, we have covered so much in a short period of time. I'm not used to these fast episodes, but they're absolutely amazing.
I can
what
talk
haven't
slower
we covered?
If you want.
No. What haven't we spoken about when it comes to the skin and aging well?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I have in the book is intermittent fasting, and it's this whole process of hormesis. And, I mentioned that there are 5 causes of aging of the skin. We covered really the 4 of them. We covered all of them except buildup of cellular waste. And one of the things, I know this has been in the news lately. There's this it's not even a published study. It was on a poster at a meeting about how intermittent fasting, it can increase your risk of heart disease. And I don't believe it myself. But this is something that we have seen. And this is the first thing. One of the things that I did do, and some people are fans of it, some people aren't, is a fasting mimicking diet. That was one of the first things I did when I started doing some fasting overall. And interestingly enough, so the fasting mimicking diet is a 5-day limited calorie fast where basically you have anywhere from 700 to 1200 calories a day for 5 days. And these foods are very carefully chosen. And the belief is that it will ideally trick your body to think it's fasting. So you're having a small amount of calories. So you're not completely fasting, but your body kind of believes that it is. And so essentially, when you do this, the first day, most people do fine. Day 2 and day 3, you start bottoming out. You're not feeling so good because you're not eating much and your body's not used to that. And then day 4, you start feeling kind of better. And day 5, you feel amazing. And this is what I felt like. Day 5, now you're really in that ketosis. You're in fat burning mode. You're also in the autophagy mode where your body is kind of using up its intracellular waste products for energy. And what we found in people who did this, I had my office actually do it. I bought them each the fasting mimicking diet. So many people found their skin looked better at the end of this. And I thought, that's really interesting. So I started studying it, and we ended up doing actually something in my book is a 21-day jumpstart, where we put people on a very simple skincare regimen, retinol being a huge part of that. We basically cleaned up their diet. We got rid of ultra-processed foods. We got rid of dairy, foods with added sugars, gluten. And then we had them essentially intermittent fast, very small amounts, just 16-hour fasts, 2 times a week on weeks 2 and 3. Okay, so 21 days. They only fast for weeks 2 and 3 for 2 days, intermittent fast each of those. And at the end of it, we found a significant improvement in how their skin looked. And the idea was that it's a combination of what you eat. We put them also on some nutritional supplements like collagen supplement, skincare, and then the intermittent fasting, and found that people's skin looked clear afterwards. They had great energy afterwards that they hadn't had in so long. And that people were giving them compliments like, what are you doing with your skin? It's glowing. It looks amazing. Now, it's not a facelift. It didn't get rid of jowls. It didn't get rid of puffiness under the eyes. If there's a lot of puffiness that genetically you get. But what it really did do is help clear things up and give them really nicer, better looking skin. And so definitely one of the things that I do encourage people to consider is some intermittent fasting, whether it's 12 hours or 16 hours, whatever works for you. I do think it's important to give your body that break from eating. And at the same time, you can help clear out that intracellular waste, that buildup of intracellular waste by a process of autophagy. And so the idea essentially is that if you stop eating for periods of time, your body runs out of fuel. So it uses these intracellular waste products, old used organelles and proteins for fuel, essentially cleaning out the inside of your cells, causing those cells to function more youthfully. We do find that you see that in your skin.
Essentially what we're doing when we sleep as well.
Yeah. And that's the easiest time to fast is while you're sleeping.
Okay. So Dr. Anthony Youn, when can we find out more about your book? Where is it?
So my book is called Younger for Life. It's everywhere books are sold. We do have a website called autojuvenation.com. Autojuvenation is the process really that your body contains immense regenerative abilities to turn back the clock naturally. And I give you all the secrets to do that. But the big thing is you have to give it the right tools and the right environment for it to do so. And so it's focusing on 5 things: what you eat, when you eat, nutritional supplements, skincare, and non-invasive treatments. And by focusing on those 5 things, you can auto-juvenate your skin, auto-juvenate your body, and see a younger you literally in just 21 days.
That is wonderful. We are going to link everything below. Anthony, thank you for being part of the Neuro Experience podcast.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.